Hi, Doms and Dolls. How are y'all doing today? I wanted to bring you a little taste of At Your Service. So I guess this is kind of a bedtime story, maybe for the Brits. Not so much for us here because it's still kind of early, although it's getting dark and cold. So let's see if this can warm me up some. So Javier woke up to the warmth of the sun on his face. He blinked in the early morning light and remembered what had happened the night before. He'd been warm, so fucking warm. Jules had curled herself around him and he'd slept like a baby. He took a deep breath, loving everything about her scent. She smelled like citrus and sex, shampoo, and, well, him. He'd pretty well marked her the night before, and he wasn't unhappy about that. After he'd made love to her on the couch, he'd shifted them to the bedroom, candles and all, because he'd been serious about being able to see her. He didn't want to miss a single look on her face. He loved how expressive she was. She gave it all away. Her eyes widened when he sucked on her nipples or slid a finger over her clit. She gasped and shuddered when he curled his long finger up inside her. Jules didn't hold back, and that was the sexiest thing he'd ever seen. He rolled over and reached for her. This was how he wanted to start the morning. He would make love to her again, and then they would plan the day. He had to meet with Chef, but other than that, he was hers all day long. This was how, wait, no, that was what I'd already read. Well, there you go. No, I lost my place. This is not professional, people. He would meet with Chef and decide on the line assignments, and then maybe he would take his girl out for lunch and to the movies, anything she wanted to see. Hey, baby, he started. Do you need coffee before you go? He sat up because that hadn't come from the other side of the bed. What? Jules was standing at the end of the bed, a mug in her hand. It was obvious she'd been up for a while, since it looked like she'd showered and dressed and done her hair. She wore gym clothes, but somehow that made her look all prim and proper, and that made him want to sex her up again. Was she nervous? She hadn't had a relationship since her divorce, and it didn't seem like her marriage had been hot in the sack. It was reasonable for her to be a little shy after a night of super dirty sex. He needed to put her at ease. Let her know it was okay to lounge around in bed with her lover. He gave her a smile. You're up early, sweetheart. Why don't you come back to bed, and when we're through, I'll make you some breakfast. I already ate, she said, her tone brisk. She set the coffee on the nightstand. I wasn't sure if you used cream and sugar, but they're both in the kitchen. I folded your clothes, and they're ready for you on the dresser. Whoa, what was happening? He took the coffee. I like my coffee plain. This smells wonderful, but I kind of thought we'd spend the morning together. Oh, I thought you spent Monday mornings with Chef. Oh, that was her problem. She was trying to make things easy on him. That was sweet of her, but he didn't want easy. He'll come by for a few minutes, but he won't stay for long. He'll eat breakfast if I've made some, otherwise he'll head home. He spends Mondays with Grace and the kids after he's worked out. It's no big deal. Well, I spend Mondays with Lance, she said with a nod, and he gets cranky if I'm late. Lance? Who the hell was Lance? You've got a date? She shrugged. Sure, if you call PT a date, then I've been dating Lance for about 6 weeks. Then I've got a session with my shrink to make sure I'm handling life all right. It's all part of the lose a limb work at top package. I got to get going. Busy day. You'll lock up on your way out, right? Lock up. He stood, going after her. Jules, I thought we could spend some more time together. She grabbed her gym bag and opened the door. Like I said, busy day. But thank you for last night. I needed it. She glanced back inside, her eyes going wide. Geez, Leones, I told you where your pants were. If I'd taken the time to put my pants on, you'd already be gone. It wasn't like she hadn't seen everything anyway. He stood in the doorway because he was kind of worried if he left, she might keep walking. He wasn't sure what the hell was happening. We need to talk. Oh, dear. Mrs. Gleason was standing next to Jules, holding the leash to her little yappy dog. Javier, you seem to have lost your clothes. Javier grabbed the raincoat Jules had hanging by the door. It managed to cover his junk. She smiled up at him. Or perhaps the whole place is going on natural. I brought up the prospect at the last residence meeting, but that damn old man on 4 shut me down. You know, clothes really do hide our truest selves. There's a beautiful community I go to sometimes in Colorado. You should come with me. You would love it there. You should put on some clothes, Jules insisted, and there's nothing to talk about. We're cool. Now I have to walk Mrs. Gleason down. Her daughter picks her up on Mondays, and they go have lunch. Perhaps Laura could come here this time, Mrs. Gleason offered. After all, there's a show up here, and you know my Laura is divorced. She needs to start dating. Javier doesn't date, Jules explained, starting down the hall. She was really leaving. What the hell had last night been? He thought about going after her. He could grab his pants, but he stood there staring as she walked down the hall. Morning, Chef, Jules said as she walked past John Taggart to get to the elevator. Morning, Jules. Mrs. Gleason lingered, watching Chef stride down the hall. He was pretty sure she was staring at Taggart's butt. Taggart stopped in the middle of the hallway. I like the look, Javi, but that's not your apartment. Chef looked down the hallway where the elevator doors had closed and then back to Javi, one brow raised. You and Jules? Javier couldn't remember the last time he felt so oddly exposed. Yes, he was standing there with a latex rain slicker covering his willy, but the thing with him and Jules was new and apparently confusing. The power went out. Well, it apparently didn't go out in your dick, Chef said. Jules got some coffee in there? Yeah. She looked down on him. She thanked me. What does that mean? She thanked me and told me to put on pants. Chef stared at him for a moment. No one ever asked you to put on pants before? He shook his head. They usually demand that I take them off. So that is a little sample of what Javi has going for him, and that Jules is not going to play his way. So I hope you all enjoyed it, and it comes out on Tuesday. Night.